Okay, so when entering Forms workspace, and you do that by just clicking this one, you will notice quite a few differences between this and the ordinary modeling in Fusion. And there are basically two kinds of ways to begin with creating something in Forms. So the first one would be to just create a sketch that resembles what you want. And then if we make something like that, perhaps, and then we can use the extrude, revolve, and sweep, and so on about the same way as in the normal workspaces. So if I use this and revolve it, I get this shape. And from there, I can begin to manipulate the things by right-clicking and go to Edit Form. And this Edit Form is where everything happens. So you see this thingy here. You can drag in vertices, you can drag faces or edges with those arrows. And you can also use those small squares there to move them freely in that plane. So here I can move it like this and so on. And you can also use these handles here for scaling. So there's scaling in one direction and there's scaling in up and down. And if I want to scale it in all directions, I select this one. So the other way of starting in Forms is to, if I just can double click and just delete that. And as you see, nothing happens down here. There's no timeline inside Forms. You have got only undo, or you have to make the changes manually. The other way to begin is to start with just a small plane, like so, and perhaps we just want one like that, and begin from there and create your shape inside this edit form. So another way to create geometry here in this is to hold down the Alt key. When you do that, it kind of extrudes whatever you have selected. And if I have a loop like this, I can double click it so all of the edge gets selected, and I can alt drag to make more geometry like that. So maybe I want to create some kind of thing that goes around here. I can also, as you see, rotate them around. And now this became a little bit wonky here, so I want to rotate also this. Right click and alt drag and rotate that and move it about in different ways like this. So you can build the shape from just one square. And you can also use forms to like an easy way to manipulate other shapes. If I drag just a plane like that and up the number of edges inside it, I can just if I just make something here to show you. When I then click Finish Form, my form bodies are converted into surface bodies. So now I can use this surface body to, if I wanted to perhaps extrude something. Let's create a sketch here. So I could have extruded from this to object and let that form's body determine how my extrude would terminate. So it's a very powerful tool to combine with other things in Fusion. And another thing to point out, of course, you can go back and edit the forms and other geometry will update accordingly, as usual. Anyway, as you see here, I try to keep everything in squares. So when creating something more detailed like this, if I go into this, as you see, I've strived to keep everything to be squares like this, and also make the details around the nostrils like a loop around the detail. And then in this case I created the eye first and the nostrils, and then I connected those with as much square as I could. And it's best to keep connections like this, but sometimes when things change direction, you have to have connections with more lines going into it. So to keep things smooth and nice, to have the best curvature in the surface, you want to place those with more connections where nothing much happens in the curvature. So here's quite flat, so that's a good spot. And if we go to, if we are going to do this, we need to use symmetry. So there are some different kinds of symmetry. If I just make a new, let's just make a plane again. 2x2 is fine. If I go to this symmetry and mirror internal, when I have something that is already symmetrical, it will work fine. So I click on one side and on the other side. So now this is divided by the symmetry line. So if I go into edit form, right click and go into it. If I manipulate things on the right side, the left side will be identical. Or if I do it over here, it will update on the right side. So if I double click and alt drag here, I can easily build something quite fast. So it helps a lot to have that symmetry, so you don't have to make things again. And let's delete that and start our lampshade. So you can also start out with some of those shapes, and in this case it's quite close to a cylinder, so let's create a cylinder on this plane in the middle and drag it out some distance, and you can make some changes to it like this. So in this case we want to use circular symmetry, which is up here, but for that to work with so many bumps as in here, we have to create some more geometry inside this. Sorry, I went out of the settings for the cylinder, so I have to make a new one. So I want more diameter faces, let's say 30. And you don't want to add more geometry than necessary, because it will be very it will be tedious to modify, and you will end up with not that good surfaces. But anyway, 30 here, and now we go to symmetry, circular internal. So when I click, I get to choose how many symmetry lines there will be. If I choose 30, it will be symmetry line between each row here. But I want to set it to 10 in this case, and you see where the symmetry lines end up. So if I make some changes on this one, I make changes on 10 other places. Let's undo that. And we want to edit the overall shape first. So let's double click and scale this out like so. And holding Alt, scale it one more time. Something like that. And also up here, we want to maybe drag it up a bit and scale it in. So I haven't used the symmetry yet. I only made manual symmetrical changes to a whole loop like this one. Anyway, I want to create some shape like that, let's say. Or my intention was to hold Alt there to make some more edges. Like so. And maybe this one has to be a little bit smaller. Yeah, something like that. Looks a little bit not perfect here, but anyway, when I now click one of those and raise it up, all of the other instances do the same. And I can also select an edge to drag it down. And maybe I don't want this to go up as much. And yeah, that's about the shape I want. So, okay. And now when I finish form, it will become a surface body that we can manipulate in the surface workspace by, for example, create thicken to make it solid. So let's do that, -2. And then go to solid, fillet, and full round fillet on this edge. and there you got the, yeah, it's not exactly like what you showed, but quite close to that shape. And yeah, I think that's it for now. See you.